very important to us. We are putting some of these investments in areas that are of necessity. Our education system was collapsing. We've had to enhance the budget to our education system because 23 of our 40 public universities were at the verge of bankruptcy. We had a shortage of 110,000 teachers. We were staring at a whole competence-based education system that was not adding up. We've had to put some money in the social sector. You understand how important that is, so that we can continuously generate the human capital that is useful to your companies and useful to our country. We have also had to look at areas of how we service our debt. Many people had given up on Kenya, and many people thought Kenya was going to go the route of other countries and that we were headed to a default. We've made sure that we have not only avoided a default, we are actually taking a new trajectory. Today, because of some of the interventions we have put in place, our inflation has significantly come down from 9.6 to 2.8. Our exchange rate has stabilized, and our interest rates are beginning to come down. You all know the central bank brought down the CBR by 75 basis points this month. Now we are at 11.25. So progressively, we are creating an environment where the private sector can have access to one of the most important things Betty said, that is access to capital. The more we crowd out by excessive borrowing by government, the more we create a situation where the private sector cannot access credit. Let me also say this finally. I've had to make the difficult decision that we haven't been able to make for the last 10 years, to think about our savings as a percentage of our GDP. I'm very happy that today we have been able to make that decision. And what we were doing in the past, where all of us were contributing, 200 shillings to NSSF and all that, and we didn't have quite a clear mechanism of how we are going. Today, that has changed. We are now moving in a different trajectory, and we are creating a bigger pool of patient capital, of patient money, that now can progressively be available for us to manage our borrowing, our interest rate regime, and I'm sure going into the future, in the next couple of years, we will be in a better place than where we are today. But we've had to make those decisions now. And I decided that I am the guy who is going to make those decisions, however difficult they are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've actually answered two questions in one, which you've done very well. And I think that was a big question because private sector is really struggling with credit, and our banks are doing very well. We are very excited about that, but we felt that how do we minimize that gap? Then there was a question again on ICT, which we've done very well again as a digital economy, and it's an area that we are pushing. And even as KEPSA, we are actually incubating the BPO sector right now, so that the BPO the whole sector, all those associations and all the members can come together as an association, and we are helping incubate them that they can grow. But the SMEs feel that they're not understanding what the plans are, especially for emerging tech startups. We're starting to see taxations on digital products, and the tech startups are wondering, then how will we emerge? How will we become the Microsofts of today with this kind of environment. And so the question is, how do we protect the tech startups as we grow our digital economy?
The tech space is a very important space to us. In fact, it is one space that I have really worked hard to make sure that the creative economy is built and is monetized. Many young people in that space did not have access to the monetization instruments. I had to negotiate with TikTok. I had to negotiate with Facebook. And today, Kenya is among the 4 countries where creatives in that space can actually be paid or can monetize that space. And the monetization of that space, some of those people in that space today earn $1 million shillings. You know that?
I do.
So the question we ask them is, a person earning 20,000 in Kenya or 30,000 pays tax. If you earn $1 million shillings, isn't it just correct that you contribute something to the tax kitty? And especially when we have enabled you to achieve that. I think that makes sense. At least to me, yes. Makes sense. Because, and we have put enough threshold so that we don't tax the small guys. Number 2, we now have a startup bill in Parliament that will now provide a whole legislative framework for the growth of our startups. And in fact, the Kenya Innovation Agency is spearheading that effort. And to be able to give it impetus, that Kenya Innovation Agency was lost somewhere between the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of ICT, because it had too many things it was doing. I decided last month that I will incubate that Kenya Innovation Agency in my office so that we can work better and provide an environment for the ICT ecosystem, starting with a startup bill, a startup fund, so that we can grow our small innovators into the M-Pesas, into the Microsofts of this world. So that is the space we are working on.
Your Excellency, you'll be very proud to know that when Honorable Sakaja was in Senate, this is when we worked on that bill, and we are looking forward that Parliament could speed it out. We really worked hard to get it out of Senate, and Honorable Sakaja was very instrumental.
I think it's now in the final stages in Parliament. There were some amendments that were carried out last week, and I'm confident that in the first quarter of next year, we should have a startups bill that will address all the concerns you have said about the digital ecosystem and the innovators in that space and how we will support them to experience the journey towards being serious companies.
That would be excellent. And my final question, in the interest of time, we're looking at the global environment, the changing global environment. And one of the sectors that is affected a lot when the supply chains are affected by wars and all other logistics is the manufacturing. And we are feeling the pain as manufacturers because of all those changes. And I'm just wondering, thinking about the people who ask this question, what are we doing as government, and how could we work together with you much closer to really address some of the pains that the manufacturing sector is feeling with all the changes that are happening globally and also locally, and especially with our regulatory environment, which has always been a challenge. I'm so glad to hear about with the KRA and the issue of VAT, but there's a lot of regulatory issues that are really affecting the manufacturers today. And if we are going to move our manufacturing from 7% to the 15% as envisioned in Vision 2030, something has to change drastically.
I agree. Something has to change drastically. And it has to start with the manufacturers themselves. I'm sorry to say this. We must change the way we view manufacturing. Manufacturing cannot be importing everything from somewhere and then coming to paint it here and call it manufacture. Surely, that cannot be. There is a statement that was said by Betty, your chairman. He said, we have 5 containers. For every 5 containers that come from abroad, only one goes back with manufactured goods. That means, I don't know whether Kenya Association of Manufacturers or we register Kenya Association of Importers. Because we seem to be doing more importing than manufacturing. So we actually need to have a conversation on the subject of manufacturing. You know, I was very surprised that when we put a tariff on importation of clinker, there was a complaint by so many people. And then you ask yourself, I mean, surely, do we need to continue importing clinker when we can manufacture clinker in Kenya? President Trump has promised to put tariffs to support American manufacturing. Every country protects their manufacturing space. I was very surprised when we said, why do we have to continue importing sanitary pads? You know, it's a very delicate subject to discuss. When we can manufacture sanitary pads here in Kenya, surely. And the biggest people who are complaining, I don't know, let me not say who are complaining. I did expect our manufacturing entities to say, protect our manufacturing so that, and we are not protecting inefficiency. We are giving them space to grow, and they must be competitive. And we are not closing down, we are not providing incentives for one company or 2 or 3. It must be, there must be enough companies to compete so that we also get good quality products. So, Caro, if there is one thing we must sit and discuss, and I am prepared, is to engage our manufacturers in a conversation that is going to give me the opportunity to understand and to know what I need to do to make sure that we are manufacturing more in Kenya. I am ready for that conversation. And I am ready to make whatever decision that has to be made to promote locally produced products in Kenya. Because that is the way we are going to create, that is the way we are going to create jobs. That is the way we are going to create wealth, as Anyang' Nyong'o said. If we use local products, local raw materials, whether it is for clinker, whether it's for steel, whether it is for leather, whether it is for textile, you know, because we are exporting a lot of textile products from Kenya. We're among the largest importers to the US. But unfortunately, we are importing cotton from elsewhere. And that is why I have a very robust plan and program we have rolled out on cotton manufacturing in Kenya. I am happy. I had a conversation with Professor Anyang' Nyong'o on what we are doing around the cotton space, the governor of Busia, the governor of Elgeyo Marakwet, and all the other cotton-producing counties, because it cannot be the case that we are importing even products that we have raw materials to produce in Kenya. Caro, I mean, it's just the right thing to do. And please, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, I am open. I'm ready to have the first meeting with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers in January. We can start the first meeting in January so that we can all agree how we are going to move things into the future.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think we'll make sure that that meeting happens, and all the other small manufacturers, because, you know, we have a lot of SMEs who are also there. So we'll coordinate everything and make sure that it happens. And know a lot of the issues are under regulatory, but I think those are things we'll discuss. But the other thing, Your Excellency, you'll be proud to know, we just launched about 2 weeks ago our roundtables with the regional economic blocks. So that way, we're also engaging the economic blocks of the counties on these same roundtables and making sure that, because that's where the businesses are, this is where the raw materials are, so that by the time we are coming to you, we have established and made sure that everything is done at that level, at the county levels and all that. So you'll be seeing a lot of that happening from next year. I don't know if you want to take any question.
I can take one or two.
One or two questions? Okay.
There is a lady there. Maybe, and Derek will take one gentleman.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. It's Jokiki Ruti, and I'm in manufacturing within value addition space. And I just want to and ask. I have gone to several establishments, and this is just a personal thing. You know, when you see the king, you ask the king for something. And I have gone and I have dropped my locally manufactured products at Western Hotel. And at Western Hotel. And the chef has approved it. However, I have not yet received, because whatever it is that I have been able to give, the chef has said yes, but the bureaucracy sometimes within the system can be very discouraging, because here we are talking about promoting local products, promoting local manufacturers, but yet when we go to the ground, people within the offices, they become stumbling blocks in order for us to be able to to penetrate. So my question to you, sir, is, so my business is Too Much Sauce. That's the name of my business. And we make locally manufactured products such as sauces, marinades, and I want that job.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my dear. That question actually should be answered by Caro. Because the establishment you have said is private sector. I run the public sector. Caro is the one. Why do we have bureaucracy in the private sector?
Thank you very much. So let's ask a sector question, then but it's true. I think we are learning bad manners about bureaucracies, and we need to show by example. And I think we'll start doing also self-regulation. We have the associations within. I mean, we have the hotel keepers who are our members here, and those are some of the questions we'll be taking to them to start doing self-regulation within their establishments, within the subsectors.
Very good. So those people in the hotel keepers, they're called what?
The Hotel Keepers Association?
Yes, the association should answer that lady. Why Western is not, has bureaucracy.
Any sector question? Sector-wide question?
There's a gentleman there.
Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Tom Onditi. I am founder, rather Gen Z founder. And I have a question regarding access to government procurement opportunities. So, in our space, we've realized that for these opportunities, for you to get as a young founder, it's very hard, because you realize that it requires a lot of documentation. Specifically, okay, my biggest problem, let me say from my standpoint, is the requirement of financial documentations which maybe you don't have. And that has become really a big challenge to people in the SME space, specifically young founders. I don't know if it is something that is followed to the latter, because many a times it becomes so competitive, and even for those that are marked AGPO, it's very hard for you to get. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Competition is the name of the game. You know, any procurement process need to have competitors. The reason why we ring fence certain items for ACBO, that is for young people, for women, and people living with disability, it doesn't mean that they automatically, a person automatically gets. There is still competition in there within that ecosystem. There will be more than one person, more than one young person competing. There will be more than one woman competing. There will be other people competing in that space. And of course, because standards have to be set, you have to meet the criteria for that procurement. Maybe the question you are asking me is the criteria too onerous for most young people to meet? That's a conversation we can have so that we can see if the criteria is too onerous, locking out almost all the intended beneficiaries. That is an exercise we can interrogate, and we have made it a policy decision as part of our contracting, performance contracting, to make sure that every accounting officer of a government entity must demonstrate how they have met the 30% procurement for ACBO, people living with disability, women and young people. But that is an exercise I am willing to interrogate more and to listen more to your views and your suggestions.
I think, Your Excellency, that's a question we've had many times. The processes for young people are almost impossible, so it locks them out. And so they say, you know how we used to have the kazi kwa vijana those days, and you say kazi kwa vijana but pesa kwa wazee, because it would lock them out. And I think that's the same process and something I think we can address together as we go forward. I think we'll end there because of interest of time, but Your Excellency, before you sit down, because we never got to listen to the big panel, I just wanted to introduce to you, and maybe they'll just stand where they are, except for Mzee Manu, who is the founding chair of KEPSA. So for him to be here as we celebrate 20 years, you know, for me it's the most exciting thing. And I really, and he's been a mentor. I think if there's anyone who showed me the ropes of getting to government offices has been Dr. Manu Chandaria, and I really appreciate him. But the others who I'll just mention very quickly, just to stand, they were going to tell you a bit of what their reflections were, and I know we'll be doing it in the course of next year as we go along. Ambassador Dennis Awori, Engineer Patrick Obath, Mike Eldon, and Lee Karori. I think he prayed and you saw him, those ones. And then just a representative of the partners who are also going to say a few words at that point, and who have worked with us over the years. Let me start with Dr. Wilfred Kiboro. Nation Media have not only supported us as being a partner even as we worked towards this, and really highlighted it and really told the country what we are about and what we are going to be doing today. But also when we were doing Kenya Daima, you know, there were the media that we worked with very closely, helped us host some of the presidential roundtables with other media houses. And so we really appreciate them, and he would have said what that has meant. Then Mr. David Bear, who is the CEO of Trademark. All these logistic works, the border posts, all that work that we have done, we've done with Trademark. And right now, what they are doing with us is helping the SMEs access Africa free trade area. And so we've been saying SMEs need to get out. There's a trade agreement within Africa, but SMEs are not able to do that. But they are really working with us to help us on that, and they were going to say that. But then we said we have a foundation, and we talked about the things we've been doing in the foundation, and I know you'll be hearing a lot more, and better places for children and all that, because private sector cannot thrive on its own. And so UNICEF has been that key partner. And again, they are going to share a few words. And I think Miss Michelle Parazzo, I think she's here. She's really been such an excellent, and UNICEF has worked with us for a long time. And so those are the people, and the people who are going to share today about what the journey, how they are succeeding in today's business. You know, those are going to share about 20 years ago and what 20 years looked like, but there are those who are going to tell us how they're succeeding in business today because of the work that has been done 20 years by these founding fathers. So we had equity, And unfortunately, James Mwangi is out of the country, but Mr. Moses Nyabada was here, and he was going to share that story, which you know very, very well, and they've been a great support. And then we have John Kashora from NCBA, again, who's going to share that story of success and what that has meant. And then Sheila Masinde, Transparency International, and the work we've been doing around that governance area and working around corruption and all that. Is she here? Or she's left? I think she's left. So that, though I'm just going to give some of those highlights. But as we said, because it's a whole celebration for the whole year, we're going to be able to have events where you can hear some of these stories more and explain that. But I would really want to say thank you on behalf of management and everyone else for what you've done with us and continue to do. This year alone, as the President said, we've had 3 roundtables. And this is considered another engagement with him, which is, we can consider it a roundtable because we've really resolved some of the things that we were thinking about. And again, also with the CCA in September, which again was a very good engagement with the foreign investors. And so we look forward to those quarterly meetings, and we're here to make sure they happen and they work well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carol. I hope you are not blaming me for all those people who missed the opportunity to say something. Because I was here on time when I was asked to be here. I was asked to be here. And maybe I was told you are here from morning. You should have given them an opportunity to do something.
Actually, we're here from morning, but because we wanted you to hear the story from the history.
Okay, I will create another time, especially to listen to the ancestors. The people who...
you create that time and we'll do that.
The people who brought this together. But let me say thank you to all of you for accommodating. I have another engagement with, I'm already running late. But it was really good to engage with the private sector, and I look forward to those meetings of where we can, engage and sort out problems so that we can allow our private sector to move on. Thank you very much, Trademark East Africa, for what you're doing, supporting the business space, and all the other partners, UNICEF, Nation Media. I am a great customer of the media.
That's
and
true.
The only unfair thing they do to me is that when they make money, they don't share with me. But I think they are doing a fantastic job in profiling all the good things that is being done, and sometimes all the bad things government does. So, but it is, I guess, it is something that we have it's part of the systems of checks and balances, and we are all happy to be part of it. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And as you wind up, you cut just a slice of cake to mark this event. And